whether you're listening or watching will probably give you context of why I look like this.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm 26 years old and I was born with a rare genetic disorder called Hanhart syndrome.
Hanhart.
Yep, Hanhart. Okay. And Hanhart either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. And so at the time of my birth in 1996, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of those babies have passed away due to undeveloped organs. And so they gave my parents they said I got about a 30% chance to live to my parents. And I came out of the womb and all my limbs, well, not all my organs were 100% healthy. And the only thing that was affected were my limbs. And so born with no legs, one arm, and grateful to be here. And so we can get into all the different identities and hats that I wore, but that is why I look like this.
Okay. How are your teen years, bro? Like, how was that? Teen years.
Yeah, so we can take it through the full childhood.
Yeah.
I was the last child. So my parents had 4 children in total, including me. And so they had time to split test, right, with the other children. And so when I was born, they took a very interesting approach, because what do you do when your son is born with no legs, one arm, right? Like, you're never prepared for that.
Right.
And I'll never know, right? Like, if my kid comes out normal, like, I'll never know what that perspective or that unique experience is as well. And so my parents took this pretty interesting route where they would only give me verbal suggestions and they never do the work for me. Now, of course, when I'm like a baby, like, they're doing the work for me. Yeah. But as I grew up, they would, put my clothes in front of me and say, hey, figure it out. And they give me verbal suggestions and I'd fall on my face and I'd be so pissed off. And here's your food, Nick. Like, here's a fork, or here's a spoon, and here's some waffles. Like, get after it. And at the time, I don't know if they even knew what they were doing, but at the time, it was programming my brain to be solution oriented. And that's a game changer, because if you look around in the world, most humans are always focused on the problem. And what you need to understand that is your problems need focus to live. Your focus is the gasoline to your problems. And so if you've ever had a small teeny weeny problem in your life and you focus all your energy on it, it becomes massive and overwhelming, and it can cripple and handicap you. It's because you're only focused on the problem. And so at an early age, I was very solution oriented, which we can bring this into the entrepreneurship world and business. Like, you get paid in direct correlation to the problems that you solve. Yep. You want to make more money, solve bigger problems, and be solution oriented. And so that was one of the greatest things that I've got cultivated into my brain at an early age, being born like this and the way that I was raised. But the other thing that was very powerful that I still use to this day and I still implement it is I became friends with failure. Failure was everywhere I went, bro.
Yeah,
right?
I embraced it.
Everything, like getting on a chair, feeding myself, getting dressed. Like, I failed at everything. And so my relationship with failure wasn't negative. My relationship with failure was like, oh, this thing is part of the process. And the faster that I fail, the faster they get feedback. The faster that I get feedback, the faster that I can succeed. And I think oftentimes people really have to evaluate or reevaluate their relationship with failure. We don't start businesses because what if I fail? Or we don't launch the podcast because what if it flops? What if it fails? Or we don't launch that webinar. We don't put ourselves out on camera because we're afraid of failure. And what if every single time that you experience failure or discomfort, that was your creator telling you you were moving in the right direction? Because I can tell you this, average people don't experience failure. Yeah. They just experience comfort.
Settle. Yeah, they settle in their bubble.
Right? And so those were a few things that cultivated me at an early age. Was one, developing a great relationship with failure, but also being solution-oriented and understanding that discomfort and challenges and trials and tribulations is a part of the process. And, you can even reflect with the question of, do you learn more from your wins or your losses? We learn more from our losses all day. And so that would be my little insight of my childhood, is like, lean into the uncertainty, lean into the failure. The only difference, like, everybody looks up to people on social media. I look up to people, you look up to people, maybe you look up to me. Yeah. And everybody looks up to these people. And the thing you need to understand is the only difference between you and the person that you want to be, or the person that you strive to be, is time. And they failed more than you did.
Yeah.
That's it.